What up, nation? We are back with another KBO DFS wide stream CK013. Here you can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find at wisetake.com or on the social media platforms listed above. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a premium DFS community design to help make you a better DFS player. KBO had I guess that's the pattern, right? They seem like they're going to be off each week or on Mondays. That seems to be the trend. I'm cool with that. If there's a day off, just one day off out of the week, that would be awesome. And I would love it if pro sports incorporated that type of strategy. I think it's good for the players to kind of reset collectively. Takes care of any like advantages as far as like travel goes. I mean, you're still going to have the travel issues, but I think it helps. Now the rainouts are going to mess things up. The season right now in Korea is like rain season, and there's actually some rain. I got some weather pulled up. Our boy Kevin Roth, DFS meteorologist, who we did an interview with. Hopefully you guys saw that interview and are following him on Twitter at Kevin Roth. I think it's WX. DFS meteorologist, man. So he did a little write-up for the KBO weather. We have some weather. It sounds like they're all going to play. It sounds like the weather should be dried up by first pitch. But there's some situations where the wind's blowing out. So it's going to be some stuff we're going to want to address. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the notifications bell. Don't miss out on any of the content we do. We do all kinds of free DFS content. And for now, in the meantime, everything we do at WiseTake.com is currently free. So I've been doing projections like you see on the screen. They're free. Cheat sheets that are attached to the projections, and that if we make a change to the projections, and the only way we make a change if somebody gets scratched or something like that at this point. But lineups don't come out till an hour before lock. Anybody who's new at this. And so we do have to confirm the lineups when they come out. These are projected lineups. They don't. So when the lineups are confirmed, I'm waking my ass up or staying up, whichever one, depending on the night, until we get the lineups, and I'm putting them into our system. And then once that happens, the lineups will update automatically. The cheat sheet will adjust to players only that are in the lineup, and the projections as well. Those who are not in the lineup get a 0. Those who are in the lineup get their full projection shown. So it's important that while you look at this stuff and take a look at the stuff on the site, and if you are trying to make some money, if you're just doing this to, have something to sweat in the mornings and you don't really care if a couple of your teams get burned, then, set it, forget it, whatever. We got something up there as a guide. But if you are trying to make some money, if you don't want to light it on fire, I do recommend you wake up or stay up with whatever the case is, and do what you got to do to make sure you get the updated stuff. Because we're updating them on the WiseTake Twitter at Wise_take. Once everything is updated, I do post from the WiseTake Twitter to let everyone know that it is updated and that you're good to go to use everything. It's final. So anyway, how you guys doing? I had a pretty good little weekend. Before we had the break, caught myself a nice little 3K win. That was cool. It's funny because that was like a 1 p.m. lock or 1 a.m. lock, and I had already, like, sleeping's been a problem for me. Like yesterday, I'm not a big sleeper as is. Yesterday I went to bed at like 7:30 p.m. Woke up at 6 a.m. So I was, it finally caught up to me a little bit, all the KBO madness, and the slate with the weather, the makeup games. That was the one that really got me a little bit, I think, because I'd gone to bed, then I'd woken up to do the 1 o'clock, then I went to bed again and woke up again to do the 4 o'clock, and then from then on, you kind of have a hard time sleeping. This past weekend, or I should say Saturday, when I did win the 3K, when I was going to bed, I was winning like $13,000. So I was like, I looked at that shit, I was like, it's way too early, and this KBO shit is crazy. I was like, I'm going to go to sleep, hope for the best, and hopefully I wake up to something nice. And it wasn't no $13K, but it was $3,000. I was pleasantly surprised. So things are working out. We're going to keep rolling with this stuff. I'm glad it's here. I'm grateful that DraftKings is doing and FanDuel are doing the KBO. I'm not playing FanDuel, but anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about the slate. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, guys. Appreciate those of you rolling in. We're going to go ahead and get started here. As of right now, the cheat sheets and projections are up on the site. My article will be out shortly. Like I said, everything's free for the time being, including on NASCAR stuff. Hopefully you guys caught our NASCAR stuff. Tommy's busting his ass out there, trying to make sure everything's. We tried to put up projections, cheat sheets, and add more to the NASCAR content. And right now everything's free, so take advantage. But everything on this YouTube channel is always free, so make sure you subscribe. And check out some of the DFS interviews. I'm going to line some more up and kind of hit another wave of people, hopefully. But check out what we have. We have Asumo, number 1 player in the world. We did an interview with him. Our boy Cash in DFS, legendary Cash. We did an interview with him. And we did a bunch of stuff. So go back, winning 247, the siege. We had a bunch of cool guests. And like I said, I'm going to try to get some more. But go learn yourself something. and go check out one of those interviews. All right. First up, we've got the LG Twins and the Samsung Lions. The Twins are currently minus 137. They are the road team in the situation. 9.5 run total, which is decent, but most of the time they've been around 9. So 9.5 is decent. Not the highest on the slate. Let's check and see if there's any weather from my boy Roth. Winds blowing 10 miles an hour, a bit left to right, a bit out to right. Temperatures in the mid-50s. It's kind of chilly over there in Korea. It's like every game's in the 50s, so the ones with wind should certainly help over the ones without. This is one of the games without wind. We've got Chan Gayu Lim as the pitcher. He's coming off an awesome game. And I updated the pitcher stats that you're going to see. So the hitting stats you're going to see are from 2019 on the screen. The pitching stats I did update to this year because they've had a few starts, and I wanted to get a better depiction of how they're doing this year and whether they're more lucky or good. The best that we can. We don't have all of our batted ball data and all that other good shit. But either way, I think Lim is a very, very interesting option tonight. The 31K rate I don't think is sustainable. I think last year was around 18 somewhere, which is probably neutral. But he's got a really good matchup against Samsung. They strike out more than anybody in the league. So I think I am interested in Lim, and we just mentioned the ballpark situation. It sounds like this is one of the more neutralized environments. Right, it's just chilly, winds blowing across the park more or less. Maybe a little boost to lefties, but I do like Changai Lim so far this season. A .77 FIP, so even with a 1.5 ERA, they're saying he's been a little unlucky. So again, this is mostly off of one start where he just dominated. But at 6'9", I'm kind of interested, and you can see the projected lineup we have for Samsung around 18% K rate. Like I said, one of the most K-heavy teams in the game, in the league, I should say, which would definitely be in the game if they were playing in the U.S., you would think. But they're scrappy. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in Lim. I think as far as the LG hitters goes, I'm always interested in Ramos. I mean, I don't know why they keep him so lowly priced. You look at what he finished with last year, man, almost a 6% home run rate. That's crazy. And I just kind of keep him at 3,100. I'm not like, I think Buchanan's on the other side, right? So we'll talk about him. So David Buchanan never had a good strikeout rate, never in his life, like ever. But he's showing one so far this year, and that's mostly because of his most recent game. So he just, I don't know what kind of got into him, but he just decided to, I don't know, he ate his Wheaties that morning or some shit. He was balling. Buchanan was balling. He's never had a good strikeout rate. Real quick, for those of you that are looking at the blanks under Hak Chu Lee, he's been playing for him every day, but we don't have any 2019 stats. So I made the name incorrect on purpose because I didn't want to give him a 0 projection just because the stats all said 0. Evidently, the few at bats he got last year didn't do shit with him. So he was averaging 0 fantasy points on the season. So that's why it's there as a blank. So I'll adjust that after the show so that it shows up the DraftKings portion. It'll give him an average projection that we have set based off, plus or minus matchup. So I'll take care of that. But anyway, so looking at Buchanan, back to him. I'm going to tell you guys exactly what he did in his last start. So it was against the Kiwoom Heroes. It's supposed to be one of the better offenses in the game. I was flat out wrong about this, no doubt. 7 Ks, 101 pitches, 8 strikeouts, only 2 hits and 1 walk. He was just on, and that was a pretty good offense. Now he's playing LG, who is a good offense. But they weren't. But I think Kiwoom was supposed to be a little bit better than them. So now the Heroes they're a little like inconsistent from a hitting perspective to start the season. But it's an interesting way to go, man. If the dude's got 33-point upside, I'm gonna have some, right? Like I'm gonna want to get some to this. I'm not gonna just. I'm gonna it'd be nice. I think somewhere ideally if I get anywhere from like 20 to 30%, and I think I will be able to because the pitching is kind of like that. You're gonna have to take some stands, I think. Guys don't separate a ton. The guys that are in play don't separate a ton, I think. So I am interested. I want around like 20% Buchanan, maybe like 10% LG stacks, because even if Buchanan sucks, it doesn't necessarily mean LG is going to go off. So I don't want to be too vested in this game if this game ends up being somewhat of a dud. But yeah, the pitching in this game, I think I'm leaning towards a little bit more. Like I said, maybe like 5% Samsung stacks, maybe like 10% LG. Not my favorite offenses, not my favorite pitchers, but I think that all four are kind of serviceable. The least the one I'm leaning the least is obviously the Samsung offense. But yeah, so Buchanan, I'm not totally sold on that one. He's always been like in his AAA minor league numbers, he's had good games where his strikeouts are never that high. He's never done that before. I mean, in his first start, it was against the NC Dinos. He gave up 5 earned runs, 6 hits, only had 2 strikeouts through 6 innings. But that was like the number one offense, so I don't want to judge him too harshly. So that's kind of where I'm at, I think, exposure-wise. I'm not going to go crazy on this game, but there's some stuff that I want pieces of to build around what I actually like, which we'll get to in a second. Next up, we got the Hanwha Eagles and the KT Wiz. The red hot KT Wiz. They've been hot. They've been real hot. You know who's not is Hanwha. Talk about a bad. That's a shitty offense right there. But so we'll talk about the offenses. As I said, Hanwha, not exactly a good offense for the most part. That flat out bad, you could say. But I do think that Shi Huang Zhang is kind of interesting. That 20% K rate he's got so far, probably more around. I think last year he got around 15. So I think he could be improving. But at 6,700, just kind of a. Actually, no. Yeah, okay. I think I'm getting the pitchers mixed up. This is the guy I think I do like. Let me just check my exposures real quick. I think I'm talking about the wrong dude here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, I actually do like him quite a bit. Let me just check something real quick for y'all. Is this the dude? We're gonna find out right now. Let's look at the stat sheet real quick. Oh yeah, this is him. Okay. So, yeah, around a 20% K rate last year, which for this league is pretty good, right? A 4.95 ERA, but a 4.04 FIP. Now, the whip is a little concerning. It's something to do with his walks, I think. If you look at what he's done so far this season, he's coming off a good game, obviously. 3 ERA, 2.6 xFIP. Still an issue with the whip there, but a 20% K rate. That's some upside, I think, at 6'7". So he's probably my favorite cheap pitcher. If we're going to group together Zhang, Lim, and Buchanan, well, Buchanan, I guess you would technically consider more of a mid-tier, maybe. But out of Lim and Yang, and I do, if you want to say Minwoo Lee, Changu, if you want to compare all these guys from cell 8 down to 11, I don't think I want too much of Minwoo Lee. I don't think I want any of Junwon Xiao. But I think Lim and Zhang are my two favorites at under 7K, we'll say. And Zhang is my favorite. So, like, I do actually, even though Lim had the better game and he's got a good matchup, I do like Zhang because I think Zhang has a little bit of a higher ceiling. Or not ceiling, but I think that obviously Lim has ceiling. He's coming off an awesome game. But more upside on a regular basis, if that makes sense. But these are the two cheap guys that I plan on having the most exposure to, Zhang and Lim. So there, just to, get rid of that right quick. I don't know. I clicked on the wrong cell. All right. So, yeah, I like Zhang. The matchup isn't like awesome, right? KT Wiz has a pretty decent offense, but he's cheap, man. He's got some strikeout potential, so you're hoping he kind of squeezes through. KT somewhere in the middle of the road in terms of strikeouts, so I think that there is potentially some upside. And look, if he goes for 14 DraftKings points, isn't that much? He's getting you over 2x, so I think that's the way I want to go. William Cuevas, so he hasn't looked too good. I don't like the 5.1 FIP. The strikeouts have been a little up for him. He's usually somewhere around 16. We can take a look at him actually too. Oh, we're doing this right. So let's look at 19, Mr. Cuevas. Let's make sure. Yeah, okay. So 19 in this league, 3.62 ERA, 4.13 xFIP. I'm xFIP. FIP. I wish we had xFIP too. Whip 1.174. Whip was solid. 17% K rate. He was pretty average, right? Pretty like average. So far this year, there's some like warning signs, right? Like his FIP is 5.19. The whip is still low, which is good. The K rates, the home runs have been a problem for him, and I think that's why the ERA and the FIP has been so high, is because of the home run issue. But he's playing Hanwha, who's just not very good, right? You could see what they did last year, and if you look at this year, it might be a little bit worse. They've been bad. I know they've been bad because if you're reading my shit, you know that I've like made room. They haven't been like my main stack necessarily often, but I've written them in the article a couple times because they've been cheap and they've tempted me in really good matchups, but they've been unable to really do damage. Even in their last game, they ended up scoring runs, but they were not in any winning lineups in a high-scoring game. It's just the way they're doing it is so shitty. So I'm not crazy about the offense. So I think in term I will get some Cuevas because I think that if he is going to have a decent game, this is the opportunity. And again, he's relatively cheap at 7,500. Ceiling is an issue though, I think, with Cuevas. But if there was going to be a ceiling game, it's going to be against, I think, with like a Samsung or a KT, or I'm sorry, or or a team like Hanwha, who I believe is the second worst offense. It's supposed to be a lot of Giants, but they've been decent. We'll talk about them a little bit later. So I'm not interested in Hanwha offense. I do like their pitcher, though. I do like Zhang, and I think his ownership may be low because he's an underdog, a big underdog. But I think the reason he's an underdog is because his team's offense is fucking terrible. You know what I mean? That's what I think. Smoke Monster, what's up, man? What's up, man? Good to see you. I see you in the chat. I didn't pop in the chat, my bad. But I'm looking around and, I didn't miss much, so it's all good. Shout out to those of you watching. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. It really helps us out. The only thing I ask for, we're doing free content on WiseTake.com. Free content always on YouTube and Twitch. All we ask for is some likes, man. So hook it up. But, so I do like Shihuan Zhang. A pretty good amount, and I'm gonna have some shares of Cuevas just because it's the Eagles and they just seem terrible, flat out. Weather, right? I don't think did I go over that one? Okay, so this is what Roth has to say about it. Oh my, Suwon KT Wiz Park faces south. Okay. Suwon KT Wiz Park faces south. Winds are coming in from the north, 10 to 15. We've got a decent breeze blowing out to center. He says he's literally been waiting for this all damn season. Granted, that's only been a couple weeks. Bump to bats. So it's chilly. Temps in the upper 50s, but they have 10 to 15 mile an hour winds blowing out to center. So obviously that's going to be a little bit of a blow to the hitters, a little bigger blow to the bats. I think that's better for the KT Wiz guys, to be honest with you, which worries me a little bit about Zhang because I do like him. And I do think he has some upside. But if we're talking about power, KT Wiz, obviously, as you can see, a lot more power with guys like Mel Rojas, Jay Gun Huang, some of these dudes, Schlangen. They also got speed on the base pass. That's one of the better things I like about KTs. They got guys that steal bases, and they got the power blend. So it doesn't do a ton for me for Hanwha. Maybe this is the spot where I'm finally backing off after playing them a little bit, and I'm just like, nah, I think they just suck, and maybe today's the day going up against a guy with a 5 FIP. But I do think Cuevas somehow ends up correcting back towards himself from last year, and the home runs have been an issue. Maybe that win has an impact, but these guys, as you can see with their home run totals last year, they got one guy who was even got an ISO anywhere near the 200 mark, and he's got a 208. It's healthy, but the next highest ISO from last year is, I think, a 112. So it just takes them forever to fucking score. They're such a small ball team. But that could help the KT Wiz offense. Definitely could. I'm not gonna get too freaked out of the pitchers because again, there's just not a ton of separation from the ones I like, and I do actually like him, Zhang. But definitely looking at that wind scares me a little bit the more I think about it. So we'll see. We'll keep rolling in this thing. It's got a 9 total. So actually the second lowest on the board, by the way. 9 total, the Hanwha Eagles. All right, let's go to the DC Dinos and Doosan. All right, this is the game I was waiting to talk about. I like this game. We've got the DC Dinos. I keep calling them DC Dinos, I guess because in my head, I'm just so American. You know what I mean? I keep thinking of DC. The NC Dinos visiting the Doosan Bears. 2 of the best teams in the game. Doosan won it all last year. NC's currently 10-1 to start the season, and they led the league in homers last year. We've got a 10-run total. I think it's the second highest on the slate. So there's one game with an 11. This one's got a 10-run total. Mike Wright against Young Ha Lee. So right out the gate, Mike Wright's looked awesome so far. I was hoping he was going to be popular, and he was. And then I was hoping he was going to bust. And, when I say bust, I don't mean the 15. 15, he didn't, kill me. He was, mediocre. But when I say bust, that's not what I mean. I want him to get his ass, crushed. And that wasn't the case, man. I got to admit, he's been doing pretty good through 2 starts. However, when we do look at his numbers, and I'm just, super tempted, we can see he's got a 4.55 FIP. So it looks like he's been a little lucky considering his ERA is only 2.45. His home run rate is up at 4.44, which is extremely high for this league. Again, it's 2 starts. I'm not trying to overreact. I'm not trying to sell you on my philosophies and whatever. But I do think that part of the reason that his ERA is low is because of the strikeouts, and he's about to face the team that strikes out the least, or at least one of the least. The other one might be his own team, the NC Dinos. As you can see, this projected lineup for Doosan, 12.48%. So he ain't going to get the strikeouts, and it seems like when he is giving up contact, he's giving up, I would assume it's hard contact with his home run rate being so high and his FIP also being high. So I really like Doosan, the offense in this. Maybe I have a little bit of Mike Wright as a hedge, but Doosan's probably my favorite offense on the slate. And I like the NC Dinos on the other side. Young Ha Lee last year was one of the better pitchers. We can compare numbers for him. We're not going to compare him for Wright because I already flipped his to this year because this is the first year playing. But Young Ha Lee last year was one of the top pitchers in the game. 3.64 ERA, 3.70 FIP, a 1.28 WHIP. Did I switch the screen for y'all? No, I didn't. My bad. There we go. Here he is, so you can see it for yourself. Visual action, right? 13% K rate. That was like, damn, that's crazy low. 0.72 home run rate. I get it. But if we look at his 2019, it's very similar to Mike Wright except for the whip and strikeouts, but a 2.38 ERA, 4.45 xFIP. Maybe he's getting hit a little bit harder. Whip is 1.58, which is still high, so he's working in walks. So you get some walk potential. Like, I feel like the NC guys, because of their home run stuff, like, I know this guy doesn't give up a ton of homers, but I think it could come. Only 11% strikeout rate, which is kind of on par with what he's doing. So I like Doosan better. I do. But I do think I do think that the Dinos will be low owned too, and they led the league in homers last year. So anytime I get that opportunity, I'm going to take it. So I am going to play some Dino stacks, but Doosan's probably my favorite, and they've been hot, right? Red hot every day, and maybe they're a little lower owned, right? The Mike Wright was chalked that day. It was like 50%, so people are onto it. Brooks played them, didn't do terrible, didn't do great, and then Doosan eventually ended up going nuts. But we got a 10-run total. Let's check the weather out. Should be dry by first pitch. Winds are north at 10 in Seoul. Jasmine Baseball Stadium is oriented, which means the winds will be blowing out to left center. So winds are blowing out to left center at 10 miles an hour. We got winds blowing out. Still a little chilly, but winds are blowing out. I think this game is where I'm getting my offense from. I'm not really all that big on the pitching on either side at all. I want some offense here, and I like Doosan a little bit more because of the home run rate, man. I want to attack my right with some home runs, so I'm going to get a lot of Doosan. But you can see I have them projected really healthily, if you will. All right, we got some cheap bets to mix in there, man. We got Jose Fernandez gotten expensive, man. We had to do something about that, but I think it's a really good spot for him. I had to sneeze, so hit that mute button as a courtesy to y'all. Y'all don't want to hear me fucking do that shit on the mic, especially at a time like this, right? All right, but yeah, offense for me. This is where I'm going. Let's get it. All right, next up, pop in the chat. What's up, Gilbert? What's going on, Gilbert? Man, good to see you, man. Good to see you guys pile in. I try to check in the chat every once in a while. I get caught up sometimes going through, especially. I mean, you got to think like, what do you want to do usually? Like when you guys have a big win in DFS, what do you usually want to do aside from get your money and celebrate and all that stuff? What do you want to do? You usually want to dive right back into it because you start to believe like, oh man, am I hot? I don't want to miss this heater. So while having a day off was cool, it's got me really in the zone and ready for this slate. And there's 50K up top in the DraftKings donkey today, so I'm excited about that. Highly excited. All right, let's see what we got. We've got the SK Wyverns, who have gotten off to a horrendous start against the Kiwoom Heroes. Horrendous start. He's been bad. He's been really bad. So, the SK Wyverns, I think they're like 1-10. They're in last place, and they weren't projected to be that bad. You can see they got two big boppers. That's about all they got. That's kind of the problem. Really, no speed. You can see this, no speed. And not a ton of it's just these main two boppers, Young Choi and Jamie Romack. They got Pinto going up on the mound with his 7% K rate. It's a shame too because he's got a matchup against a team that has been striking out a little bit more, but he's only got a 7% K rate, 3.18 ERA, but not really supported. Right, we have a 4.54 FIP, not great. I'm not really on Pinto. I actually do like the Kiwoom offense a little bit more. I don't like the total in this game is the lowest on the board, 8.5. Not a fan of that for the Kiwoom Heroes, especially because they've been kind of disappointing to me in general. But I prefer them. That's all I'm saying is I prefer them in this game. So I'll have it. I do like them, I guess. I just like the Dinos. The Doosan Bears #1. So I get whatever. But I'm gonna have some stacks here, especially because I do like Wante Choi. He's the spend up I'm going on. Like I mentioned, not really being on Mike Wright or Young Ha Lee. It's because I'm going really most of the Choi. It's a little scary because Choi is actually not that different. If we look at last year's numbers, I'll go back to it real quick. Choi is not that different from Young Ha Lee. If you look at last year, Both, like we talked about, 3.7 FIP for Young Ali. Choi had a 2.96. Neither of them had high K rates. Their whips were very, very similar. Their K rates very, very similar. This year, and it's a small sample, we don't want to overreact, but they've been showing kind of different signs, right? Choi's K rate has been up a little bit. The FIP's low. The whip is healthy, and Lee's trending in the other direction. His FIP is elevated to almost double his ERA. Basically a 1.6 whip and can't strike nobody out. So plus he's got NCD, a tough matchup. Wontae Choi's got a struggling ass SK, who's really sucked, long and hard, you know. So I think that I'm all Kiwoom here. I don't want no Pinto. If I end up with like 5%, I'm not gonna necessarily get rid of him, but he's not a guy I'm looking to get. I think that Wontae Choi is going to be my highest owned pitcher though, and I think I'm going to take him. I was talking about how there's not a lot of separation with the guys you like. To me, there's separation with him, especially going up against a struggling team like SK. So I think I'm going to go heavy on Choi. It's just the other guys, the Zhangs with the wind blowing out and all that shit. That has me a little nervous. So I would rather take him and just kind of pinwheel him as much as I can. Maybe get around 60 to 70, 80% of him and kind of pinwheel him with the other options. And that's going to probably lead me to want Kiwoom a little bit more because I like the correlation factor if it does work out. But not really interested in too many SK players because of that. I'm probably not going to have a ton. If I end up with teams, I'm sure I'll have some teams without him. Hopefully I'm able to do some one-offs or something with Romac and Choi in those teams. But I'm not all that worried. I think we're making the right choice. And I think I'm interested in Kiwoom and their pitcher. Choi, just hope for the best. And I don't think you have to pay up for him. You don't have to. I think we have enough pitchers where you can do combinations of those. We talked about Doosan, right? For some of those guys being expensive, we want. So we'll see. We'll see. Big Meech, what's happening, man? Oh, you're too kind, man. You're the GOAT, my man. I appreciate you. You're the GOAT. But I tell you what, man, since KBO has been here, and you talk about making, what's the expression? When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So obviously all this stuff going down with the whole world, in our country, everything like that, it sucks, right? The isolation, the quarantine stuff, the people getting sick and all that, it's fucking horrible, the pandemic stuff. Now the country seems to be kind of splitting again with people that want to go back to work and some people that are still afraid to kind of go out. But as individually, that's not like a grand scale. Individually, what you can do is, for your own mental health, for your own well-being, is to put yourself in a situation where you can make the most of it, right? Like, don't use this as an excuse to sit around and do nothing. Take this time that you have off, or maybe you don't have off, but if you're working, take this time to grind and make as much money as you can. If you're not working, take this time to dive into something else and see what you can get into. But out of every, disaster or every whatever, as much as it's bad, and I'm not saying like I know some of you guys financially may be getting hit with the economy and all that, but there's always opportunity somewhere. Now, for example, had this not happened, I would not have played KBO, right? DraftKings wouldn't have offered it. And I wouldn't have won that contest. I won that $3,000. Now, maybe I would have won a different contest in NBA or MLB, but we don't know that. You know what I'm saying? So you make the most out of it. Look at everything positive as you can. And be positive when you're building teams and just feel good. Feel good. All right. Kevin Lloyd, what's up, man? Good to see you. Hit that like button if you haven't already, guys. Much appreciated. We have one more game left, I think. Last game. We've got the Giants, a whole lot of Giants, going up against the Kia Tigers. Kiwoom, by the way. I didn't talk about the total. Why? Because that game is in a dome. Kiwoom is the only team that plays indoors. So I didn't talk about the weather for that game because they're in a dome. So no, don't worry about the rain. That's the safest game on the board. It's one of the reasons I like the pitcher so much too, right? Because Roth did mention that it's raining all day in Korea. It's just supposed to dry by first pitch. And again, I'll try to keep as much as I can updated. When they cancel the game, 30 minutes or an hour before, I got plenty of time to post it, let everybody know. When they cancel it 5 minutes before, it doesn't really give us a whole time to adjust. So I can understand the frustration in those situations. But on to this last game. We've got an 11-run total, highest on the board. So it's kind of forced my hand. Again, my favorite game is the Dinos and Bears, particularly Doosan. But it's going to force me into looking into the lot of Giants and Kia Tigers. The Giants were actually big favorites here, minus 138 against the Kia Tigers. The Giants were supposed to be bad. They were like one of the worst teams in the league, maybe the worst team in the league last year. And they started off red hot. They started off the season red hot. Now, looking into like the statistics, their BABIPs all look really, really high. And if you look at a lot of Giants, they don't have a ton of great hitters. They got decent ones, right? Like Chi Hung An, only 5 homers, but a 352 WOBA, that's respectable. Dae-Ho Lee, 351 WOBA, that's respectable with 16 homers. They have a little bit of speed. Guys like Sun and Min are trying, right? But they're not really expected, as you can see, to be that threatening of a team. But they've gotten up to a red hot start, so I think we ride the wave. In terms of the weather, winds blowing left to right across the park, temps to that. So no real effect. It's kind of neutralized, right? Like no wind blowing out. It's not great. But the highest total on the board, nonetheless, I think kind of commands some respect. And we've seen a lot of Giants put up big runs and win slates. We've seen the Kia. I think we've seen something like the Kia do it, right? A couple times, or at least come close. I know. We've had games where I've stacked them and they put up some big scores for us. But starting with the Giant, I mean, Jun Woon Seao, I'm not interested in at all. Neither of these pitchers I'm interested in. You know, Jun Woon Seao, definitely not. I just know nothing to do with him. And in fact, I do think that there's certainly merit in going after him. He's got a 2% home run rate so far this season. The FIP closer to 5. The WHIP 1 point. Only an 8% K rate. We're going to see a lot of balls put into play. And that's one of the reasons I like Doosan, because they don't strike out a lot. So we're going to see balls put into play. And I think that's going to be the situation in this game, as well as neither pitcher are very good at strikeouts, but especially not Jun Woon Seao. So I do want to work in both offenses. This is an offensive game, I think. Preston Tucker, Hyung Woo Choi, 17 homers, 400 WOBA last year. Oh, just under that. But still, Min Sang Yo, 375 WOBA last year. Prices aren't terrible except for Tucker and Choi. Then you're gonna pay a little bit for those guys. But Chan-Ho Park, 39 stolen bases. Don't leave him out of your stacks. Min Woo Lee's kind of interesting, so I'm just gonna go over this real quick because I thought it was funny. So I'm looking at the Min Woo whatever. I'm looking at his 2020 stats first because I want to see what he's doing this year. And I'm like, okay, 5.91 ERA. Holy shit. Only a 2.9 FIP. Maybe he's been a little, unlucky. That's kind of crazy. That's a big differential. Biggest on the slate by far. He's got a 1.6 whip. Maybe walk's been an issue. K rate's only 14. Okay, let's look at what he did in 2019 in a bigger sample. And he had the same exact pattern. The strikeouts were up, but a 5.43 ERA and a 3.59 FIP. The margin wasn't as different at 1.84, but it makes you wonder, like, maybe it's just the way he throws. Maybe there's something to him there, right? Because he had a bigger sample last season and still finished with, like, the numbers that far off. It's kind of weird. But 19% K rate, maybe the Ks go up, possibly. But in this situation, I think I prefer the offenses, and the Vegas total kind of points in that direction. So I'm with it. Highest total on the board. You could see this team, the lot of Giants were projected for 5.5 runs. I think Doosan was as well. I think Doosan, maybe both teams were projected for 4.5 at the time, but the total's obviously gone up because now it's up to 10. So yeah, I mean, I'm into the offenses, man. I'm gonna stack a lot of Giants, some Kias. Doosan is my favorite though. Doosan is my favorite. Then I'll work in the NC Dinos, and then I'll come into this game as my first 4 with the Key Boom Heroes as a 5th, and then I'll kind of sprinkle off the rest, man. That's what I'm doing. I'm going with the pitcher here. My article's going to be out. I'm going with the pitcher from Key Boom. Mostly I'm going to work him in with some Zhang, with some Buchanan, I guess. What's the other fucking guy's name? So as far as pitching, Wante Choi is the one I'm going to have the most of, right? We're working some of these guys. We're working, damn it, I just clicked the same game. The names, man. The guy playing Samsung. So Lim, working some Buchanan, working some Hanwha guys, Zhang, right? But I want to pair a lot of these guys. That's the issue. I want to grab some of these dudes and kind of pair them with a lot of Kiwoom's guy, Choi. Wante Choi. My article will be up, but shortly. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it, man. I think that's good, right? Chad Casey, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Goober says positively getting his money. Yes. You understood the message. You understood completely. I appreciate y'all. But that's going to do it for us today, man. If you guys haven't hit the like button, please hit that like button. That's the only thing we ask you to do. While we continue to grind out this KBO. Good luck to y'all. If I don't win it, I hope it's y'all. Right? I want to see some screenshots. If y'all win, don't be bashful. Hit me up on Twitter at CK_013. Tag the WiseTake Twitter at Wise_take. And brag a little bit. I give you permission. Because to me, it's not bragging. It's about spreading positivity. So if you have a nice little screenshot to show some positivity, let's see it. Anyway, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.